What up, guys? Jason Guyman here tonight, and tonight we got Daniel on the phone here on the line, and we're going to talk about taking action and not just learning but doing. And we're going to have a conversation here about what you can do to grow your business. We'll talk about how he's done it, some pain points that we've had through the road for him, and what we have for growing this thing called a Christmas site business. I had a phone call today, and one of the question that was asked to me is this real that you can do these types of numbers? And he's like, my goal is to do 20 to 30,000. And as I tell people that come to my in-person class, especially my Cincinnati class, is that if you don't leave here and do that, it's because you learned a lot but you didn't do no doing. And so that's what I asked Daniel, what do you want to talk about tonight? And he was like, let's talk about taking action, because as we have as I've helped him grow his business, is the importance of taking action. And, we'll talk about different pain points as you grow a business. And when you're first starting out in this business, there's times that you know some things and you don't know other things. But in the end, you got to remember that you got to keep learning and growing. There's no time that you should ever think you know it all, because there's different techniques for marketing, there's different techniques of how to close jobs. All of those things can happen, so that's why we want to do that. So my book of the week, it's actually a new book. It's a book that it will help you with your mindset. And so this is why I love these books. This book here for here. Now, the one thing I will say, this is I could not find this book on audio, so it is a read book, and it is pretty thick book. So it is a big book, but it's called See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar. And so I would highly recommend any of Zig Ziglar's book. He has amazing, he's always been amazing. But See You at the Top. This is the book that is my book of the week this week. It's a brand new book. It isn't brand new, but it's a new book that I'm recommending. So See You at the Top. So, all right, that's enough of me talking. Daniel, just for people that don't know, who are you? Who are you and where are you from?
I'm Daniel. I'm from Scotland, and I live in Virginia. And I'm the owner of Holiday Accents Christmas Light.
And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I got started in Christmas lights in 2023. I stumbled across Jason's content on YouTube. Um, just got fully into it from the get go. Watched all the videos. I think I watched every one, and then started my Christmas light business in end of August, start of September of 2023, and had a very, very enjoyable, very fun, very stressful, uh, and successful year, season one in Christmas lights in 2023, and just kind of continued from there, So
Awesome. So let's talk about what made you. So first off, was did have you been in business, or what are some things that that you actually took action right out of the get go? What are some things that we had to figure out to take action versus just keep learning and keep trying to go that route?
the first thing I did was to make sure, number one, that I was competent with the installs themselves, right? So figuring out all the pieces, I like to say, to the puzzle, because when you're doing a Christmas light install, there's a lot of things you have to be able to manage. There's a lot of things going on, and it's really important that, number one, you know it yourself. And I'm not on the truck anymore. I got off that after season one, thankfully. But I had to be able to, number one, know it for myself so that I could then teach the guys. So that's first and foremost, I'd say, the most important thing. Getting to yourself with a level where you've mastered the basics, and then from there you can kind of train your guys and build out systems.
So I agree with this 100%. And here's the thing with Daniel, I talked to him, I've coached him through this whole 2 3 years that he's been in business and helping him grow his business. And it's one of the things that as you see somebody that asks questions, he will ask questions, he will get my answer, and then he takes action. And I think that's the thing that separates him from a lot of other people. Not to say that you're not that person, but if I say go and put, now last year he didn't listen to 100%, so he actually could have made more, but he didn't. But he was a little overwhelmed. And so that's where this year we talked about having systems and putting different systems in place. And, as you grow and scale, your first year can be tough if you don't know all the systems or trying to figure out the systems as you're going. And so, what was the biggest like aha moment of you could actually make this a legit business and not just a side hustle?
Yeah, I think it was so in year one, season one, my goal. Sorry, I'm having to plug this in. I'm going to run out of battery, as
I'm
we always
shocked.
do. Yeah, I think in season one, the most important thing, the thing that my aha moment was like, wow, like this is a lot. This has become way more successful, way quicker than I could ever have imagined. Because I've said this before, I would have been happy in season one doing like 25, 30 installs. I ended up doing 79 installs. So it kind of just snowballed. And that was probably the biggest accomplishment. And the fact I was able to do all that without having any previous experience with a service business. All I'd ever done was soccer. So to be able to do that, build a business in season, be on all the installs, and still sell or 79 installs, still get enough work to build a great business in season one. So, and I did all that on the installs, and I can't stress that enough. That was very, very difficult to do, and it came with a lot of challenges in season one. Like I had issues. My biggest pain point was staffing issues. Right, like I went through so many different people, and not. I found it very difficult in that first season with staff, and so I kind of learned early that I had to recruit the right people. And then going into year two, in January, February, I was already looking to recruit because I knew that I didn't want to go through that again. And I think that's been the kind of theme I've taken throughout this journey is, okay, I learned this lesson. This was a very difficult point in the journey. I'm not going to make that mistake twice. And I've done that throughout this journey, and I'm only going into season three, and I've asked you questions, and I've said, okay, Jason, I had this issue in season one with staff. What should I do? You've told me what to do, and instead of just sitting on that and going, oh, okay, I might get to that, I went and just took action right away. And I think that's just one small micro example of what I've done with this whole business. I've continuously like learned and adapted and grown.
So Daniel is also on a lot of the calls on our Monday night calls, and he gets to hear some of the new guys' questions, and he also hears some of the people that have been in business for a while. And he's been to a class, he's been to one of my classes, and so as you see other new people starting to learn, what are some things that you see that hinder people from growing their business?
You know what? I saw you post this earlier today. I think it was today you posted it. Overthinkers, 100%.
And what do you mean by that?
Just people who they've not got the wrong intentions when they're overthinking, but they're just like asking the same questions over and over and over again. And a lot, it's not always the case, but a lot of it's to do with pricing. Like they can't seem to convince themselves that they can get those prices. And so that it's almost like they want to talk themselves out of it. They want to find a reason as to why they can't get those prices, and so they ask a ton of questions. Like to be honest with you, you know this. I don't even really think about pricing. It's not something that really crosses my mind. Like when I'm speaking to a customer, I don't really mention it unless they do, because I'm not focused on that. And I think the problem with a lot of, not even new installers, a lot of installers that have been in the game a while is it consumes their mind. And when it consumes their mind, it becomes the conversation. And I strongly believe in something called the law of attraction. And you become what you attract, you become what you think about. And if you're constantly thinking about pricing, and you're gonna you're gonna pass off that energy in conversation.
So, one of the things that I know a lot of other people teach that I don't teach, how have you overcome the pricing where you are just started out high?
Yeah, so thankfully, because I've learned from you and I didn't go and learn from one of these other guys, is I've priced well from the get-go. And I've heard horror stories. I've got people in my area that I'm not like one of these guys who's puts up walls with competitors and stuff. I actually think it's a good thing to have competitors, and we can all thrive, and it makes all of us better. So I have very good relationships with a lot of my competitors in my area, and we talk. And a lot of these guys went to the wrong place to get advice out the gates, and so they screwed themselves early on because they were undercharging, and now they still, a lot of them to this day still have those cheap customers and they can't get rid of them. And so I'm very grateful that I learned from you, and that from the get-go I've been charging at the least $8-9 a foot,
And
and I'm
so,
higher than that now.
what you're saying is when people say that you can't get that in your area, there's people in your area that will probably say that you couldn't get those prices because they're at the $6 a foot or $5 a foot.
Yeah, yeah, 100%.
And so, by being at the higher price, what does that allow you to do?
I think it I think it allows me to do what I've done, really. Scale, um, and build my brand. Like, if I was undercharging and I didn't have much left at the end of the season, I wouldn't have been able to build the brand I have. Because if you notice, in year one, I didn't really have a nice logo or anything. And then year two, I was able to splurge on a new logo and a whole branding kit. And all these small steps, I think, I've put Holiday Accents in a great spot, in a great place, because everything I'm doing like the trailer, for example. We bought a trailer recently, and it's not just a trailer. It's like it's part of our brand, and it's like I believe it's perfect. Like the wrap's perfect. The interior, it's not like wooden interior shell, and it's all aluminum custom built. And I think I wouldn't have been able to do all this if I hadn't charged appropriately. Like, and these are the small details I believe matter. Like all these little details, the uniforms, all this stuff matters. And if you're not charging, probably you can't afford to do these things.
You're kind of breaking up. Are you covering your mic at all?
Without letting me refresh my screen.
He died. He died. His phone died. So one of the things I'll tell you is you have to keep a phone charged so that way you can answer the phone when they do call you. But so one of the things that as I've helped Daniel get to where he's at and help him grow his business is that one of the biggest things is taking actions and setting up systems, right? You got to have the right systems to put in place. And here's the thing, from year one he was on the job, every job. Year two he was on very few jobs, he was only on three or four jobs. And so one of the things that I would say and I would really push is, as you grow and scale, it's all about putting systems in place so that you can get off the job and start inspecting what you expect. So if I expect someone to come in and hang the lights, I and tell them that they got to hang the lights, they have to make sure everything is clean. This is how I want the lights hung. This is how the system that I want done. So that way, when you go back to inspect it or you go take pictures later that night, they don't have lights hanging off the edge of the roof. They don't have lights doing things that they're not supposed to be doing. And so these are things that as we start growing and start learning and talking about it, it says, that's weird. Waiting for the host. It's not coming on here right now. It should. So this is something that what's up with his phone always dying, right? Ain't that the truth? And so these are things that as we start learning and growing a business, it's important that we figure out what are the things that are going to separate us from our competitors. Are we making sure that we are doing the things that we need to do? Are we doing the things that we're not doing? What are we doing to try to figure out what systems do I need to put in place? And as we were talking with Sean last week about employees, this is really the point of where you are. So from 1 year to the next, Daniel did 179,000 his first year. He did a little over a half a million last year in year two, and who knows where he will hit this year. I've got a projection of where I think he should hit. And so these are all things that as we start doing this, it's one of those things that we should figure out where we want to be at and what do we need to do to get there, right? And so, one thing that I would say is, there we go. Here he comes back. Now I got it figured out. There we go. So, one of the things that I would say is how. So, how do you get to where you are when your phone always dies?
Oh no, my phone didn't die. It's I don't know. For some reason, it was being like shaky when I was on the call. I don't know if my signal's good. I don't know why it did. I think maybe the browser or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was acting weird with the volume.
Oh, okay.
It was
And then
cutting in and out.
yeah,
So here's the thing. I want to kind of make this live a little bit different, and just me asking you questions. I want to have this kind of a conversation here, and then you can ask me questions too if you think of questions that maybe people would want to know. What are your and that's what I would rather it be both ways instead of one. But let's see. We'll see what Odin said. What's the deal with? What's the deal with? Well, I wish it would come up.
I saw it. What's the deal with this phone always dying?
Yeah, what's the deal with the phone always dying?
Yeah, it's always dying because I'm always getting leads. He wouldn't know.
uh, oh, poor Odin. So, if you don't know, Odin just turned 17 a couple weeks ago, about a week ago or two, and he decided to do something stupid that weekend and pull his ACL off his leg. And so he just had surgery, and that's going to be a fun times. Beard of Soft Wash says you can't get those prices where I live. Laugh out loud. I'm just kidding. And here's the thing: with where you live at is a whole different other deal with dealing with Washington and all of that. Is only at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter at this time. It's only at the end of the day, so it doesn't matter at the end of this time. Um, what's going on, guys? What is your steps right now after a sale? Are you sending every week messages about their install pictures of you preparing? What just do you want them to be silent? Or just do you want them to be silent? So so honestly, so Daniel, you've sold quite a bit in the last couple of weeks. What do you tell them for the install side of things?
I don't really understand that question.
So
What does it
basically,
say?
what do you say after you sold the job? You're not installing until September or October 1.
Oh, right, right.
Basically, all he's going to do is say, "Awesome, we've got you on the schedule for October, and we will." Do you say we're going to contact you before we come and install?
So something I've done from the get go that I think I've done well is I don't schedule a day too far out, and people will ask for a day, and I deliberately say, hey, this far out we don't schedule a specific date. This is just due to variables like the weather and the pace of our crews. Instead, what we do is we schedule a week, and then the Sunday prior to your install week, we will send you a message with an install window, like a date and a time,
Yeah.
and that's the way we do it.
Hit the like button. So, talk to me about what are your thoughts on how to get leads? Because I feel like a lot of people struggle on this part here of how to get leads, and what are some things that you've done to be able to get more leads to be able to get to where you are now?
Uh, that's a great question. Now, what I do is I run tests, right? So now it's all changed. In year one, it was different, but now what I do is I do little samples. So I'll try running ads, I'll try running Facebook ads. I've tried signs, I've tried door hangers, um, I've tried email campaigns, I've tried cold calling, and I just take the data from all of those and whatever seems to be working. Now it can all change, right? Like one month it might be this, the next month it's probably the next thing. But you should just run little tests and whatever's working, just fuel it. I think a lot of people make the mistake of if something's not working, they'll keep trying and trying, and they should just shut it off and go to what is working because every market area is different, and there's not, what works for me may not work for somebody in Texas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And one of the things too is do a test budget too. Don't go crazy on, and I'm talking to Justice just if he is listening. He started some Facebook ads, and the next thing you know, he spent $200 in one day and without getting no leads. And that's why it's so important to test at, a couple dollars a day, $10 a day for these ads to see what's bringing in leads versus what's not before we really start ramping up.
Yeah, yeah, it's so important. Yeah.
So what what is the what's your thoughts on when someone says that they don't believe that you can get what you get in your area?
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that people think that way, and I think if you don't believe it yourself, like if you don't believe you can get whatever you want, like a good rate, let's say like $8, right? $8 a foot, and you strongly believe you can't get that, then before you even get started trying to sell to someone, you need to fix that. Because like I said earlier in the conversation, if you're emitting that energy, then the customer's going to feel that because you're always going to go back to price when really the customers we want, my brother says it a lot, like you don't want to attract the wrong customer. You want to attract the customer that's going to pay you well and that values your services. And so if you're giving off that energy all the time, then you're going to attract the wrong person.
And how much does your brother sell jobs for?
Do I even bother saying it on here? Because I'll probably, people are like, he doesn't get that. Like people, there's, I don't know. Should I really even say?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah. I mean, he's getting like 15, $16 a foot.
15, $16 a foot.
He's not getting that. He's not. There's no
And
way.
I know there's people in that same area that are charging $5, $6 a foot because that's who they learned from, and they're still at that. And they're the ones that are complaining about that they can't get more work in this area because there all these new people are coming in. In reality, they are the cheap ones and driving down the prices. Versus they should have been raising their prices a long time ago and amplifying their business that way versus going after all the low dogs, right? And I'm hitting on this because it's important as we look at this. I see everybody wants to be the Walmart. Everybody wants to be the cheap guy and get all these clients. I see it over and over and over. I want to get to 100 clients, right? And it's like, well, do you want to? What does 100 clients mean? Does that mean $100,000? Does that mean $50,000? Because 100 clients, I can get you 100 clients, and you only make $50,000, and you're going to go broke. Or I can get you 100 clients and you got $200,000. Now, which one's easier to get to? The $200,000 of 100 clients versus the $50, the $4 a foot is never going to get you there because you're going to burn out. You're not able to do marketing. You're not able to do the things that you need to do to get there to be able to grow your business. So as you as you have grown, what are some takeaways that you have learned through this last 2.5 years?
My biggest thing is never to compare yourself to others. It's the big comparison's the biggest thief of joy. And I'm on my own journey, and like I'm ambitious enough in myself, and I'm dedicated enough in myself, and disciplined enough myself that I don't need to be worrying about anyone else. And I feel like there's something in this industry that plagues the industry. Is so many people, for better or worse, get caught up in what others are doing. And instead of using it as fuel, they use it as envy. They become envious, they become jealous, they become, you know, like obsessed with competitors, with others. And instead of, you know, like you've shared my success, relative success compared to some people in the industry, and I'm still new and I'm a very small fish in a huge pond. And you've shared my success, and there's been a lot of people who have reached out, and I've helped people and they want to learn, but there's also people I'm sure that he's not doing that, or there's no way, or and you see it all the time. I see it all the time in the groups, just people just jealous and envious, and the problem is like if you've got it's again it's back to energy. If you give off that energy, then it's going to bleed into every sector of your life, not only your business, your personal life. You don't want to be someone like that. And I think it's something I've learned is like there's competitors in my area doing great, and I look up to them, I aspire to be them. I don't need to compare in a negative light, like there's just no time for that, man. And I think everyone needs to be. I know there is a lot of positive people in this industry, and I think we all need to remember why we do this. We do this to create joy. We do this to create a sense of community, to bring people together, whether it's a commercial building you're lighting up or a home. And if you strongly feel that way and you're passionate about what you're doing, you're only going to succeed, you know?
I do know. And so, as you say that, what are some things that, as so from year one to year two, what are some things that you learned that are going to help you in year three?
Oh, mate, you touched on it earlier. So in year two, we did really, really well early in the year getting commercials signed up. And that, like, I did a lot of cold calling, a lot of stuff. I put in a lot of the groundwork early in the year. And I did that because in year one, when I was calling these commercials, because I didn't start till start of September. So when I was calling these commercials, they'd already ran through their budgets. So I made a note, again, back to that. I don't know if I was still on the call or it was breaking up when I was talking about learning, and always learning once. My dad always told me this in soccer as well. Like, you learn from mistakes, you fix your mistakes, and it's the best way to grow is through your failures. But if you don't fix those mistakes, you'll never grow. It's the same in soccer. If your first touch is bad and every time you receive the ball and it bounces off you, you can't go and run and do something else before you fix that. Go and fix that and you'll progress. So I did that in year one. I noticed that commercials I couldn't sell. I sold, what did I have? Two shopping centres, an elderly home. Trying what else? Was there someone else? I think there might be one more, like maybe I can't remember. But anyway, so what I learned is that wasn't enough. So in year two, what did I do? Early in the year, I went and worked on that, cold called, and I built up a great portfolio of commercial clients early in the year. And now this year, going into this year, my big thing is systems, and you've spoke to me about this so many times. Like in year two, my pain point was I was handling our lead intake myself. So that meant anything that was called in, I was picking up the phone. The Facebook ads last year were amazing, amazing. And I, I'm excited because I wasn't able to crank the dial last year. We did great. We had an amazing year. But I'm so excited because I knew that I didn't crank the dial because it's all I could handle on a given day is like 20, 30 leads maximum. But this year, I'm going to have people by my side helping me with lead flow so we can handle more leads. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, sales is a numbers game. So by cranking the dial on the ad spend on Facebook, I didn't even put out many signs last year because I was at my capacity for what I could handle from leads. So this year we're going to put out yard signs. This year we're going to do more door hangers again. This year we're going to do flyers. This year we're going to go and hand out stuff. We're going to go to events. And so I'll be able to handle more because I'll have help. And it's just about identifying the right help, which is something I find difficult. So that's
So,
this one.
what are actually? I see we got a question here. If it'll come up here, what are your thoughts on door knocking? Do you knock around installs on this end day of the install? And typically, it is a no, just because it's one of those things that once you get busy, you don't have time to go knock on 3 or 4 or 5
Yeah.
doors at that point. You know, if you have a $10,000 day booked, 5 jobs, $10,000, you don't have time to go knocking on doors. And that's just what it is. Now, if you're not busy and you are slow and you only got 1 or 2 jobs, then yes, you're going to go knock on the neighbors' doors and you're going to go do 5 rounds and you may put door hangers on. That
Yeah.
does door knocking work in this industry? And the answer is absolutely it does. And it works in different areas across the country. It ain't just one place that I know where that it works. It works in Iowa that there's cheap people up there, and they're still getting $8 a foot doing it by door knocking. In Florida, they're across the country. People are door knocking and able to make money doing door knocking. And so there is some tricks to door knocking. There is, you get into a subdivision, you knock 90% of the doors before you move to the next one. You dress the dress, you wear the hat, you wear the lights, you you're excited. One of the biggest things that I love when Daniel's on the phone, or I know he's got to win, he is so excited. Like, he gets so pumped and so excited when he's on the phone. And you'll see him shaking that head on his videos and stuff. And, he gets so excited. You can see the smile on his face. And he's just got so much joy in his face and excitement. And you got to have that same excitement when you're answering the phone, because if you're just like, hello, there's no excitement there, right?
Yeah.
There's zero excitement. And so it is important that when you are selling, that you're excited, whether you're selling in person, online, it doesn't matter. You have to be excited because you want them to be excited. Because if you're not excited, they're not going to be excited. And so you got to make them excited and want it so much that they don't they just want it, right? But it's back to, he's excited and he's not thinking about price. He's thinking about Christmas lights and how the joy of it is. And right. And one of the exercise I did this past Monday was, look at the words that they're using in your reviews. And guess what? He's using a lot of those words already because he's not talking about price. He's not talking about being cheap. He's not talking about reasonable pricing, because that's
Yeah.
that's a burner that will kill your rate of close, because one word that you speak will shut you down 100%. And so these are all important things that what he's been able to do. And yes, door knocking does do really, really well for you. So, or it can do really, really well for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never done it, but my brother has, and he's had good success so far. So
Look, we got idiot. Well, I shouldn't say that. We got people that are on. Um, we got people on the short bus here tonight. Al, um, he is. He's from Dayton, Ohio. He was a PE teacher. He retired as a PE teacher, and I actually built his rig for him. Shoot, that's been a long time ago. And he is one that I talk about, still talk about to this day, about not mixing stuff in your bleach tank that you don't know that won't mix well with it. Because he is one that he called me one day and he's like, "Gammon, my garage stinks and my tank is so hot I can't even touch it. It's almost melted through." And I'm like, "What'd you put in it?" He's like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Okay, that's weird." Open the garage door and he did it. And then he did it again. I'm like, "Well, you're putting something in this." And he was putting some lemon smelly stuff in his bleach tank. And I don't know if you know, lemons have this thing called acid in it, and acid and bleach don't mix very
Mm,
well together. And
no.
so he had called me again talking about my eyes are burning and I can't
Oh,
touch the tank. It's so hot. And yeah, and he's like, I only put like two little capfuls in it, and I can't
that's
believe it
funny,
did
mate.
that. And so, if you are in the pressure washing world, don't put lemon smelly stuff that isn't supposed to mix in with your bleach. So Jason saved me. I owe the country. But yeah, so that was Al. He's one of a kind. He's a great dude. He does have a YouTube channel. And he does put some stuff up, and that is Al. I haven't seen you on here in a while, Al. So what what are some thoughts? What do you think that this year is going to be? Do you think this is going to be an awesome year? Or do you think that people aren't going to spend money this year?
Yeah, it's. I think it's going to be a great year. Uh, I'm no economist, but I know that I know the economy is not doing great. But I think the thing we'll always have in our industry is, and if you're, it goes back to if you're attracting the right customers, the ones with the money. I don't think this really affects them. You know, that top 1, 2, 3%. Um, it doesn't affect them as much, you know. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a great year. I'm already doing really well, and I think I've spoke to others who are doing really well as well, and I'm seeing people posting things, and I think we're all doing well, and I think everyone should be excited for another amazing year.
Yep. How many reinstalls do you have so far? Eli put or L like go
That's
70.
great. You know what? This is something we should talk about because even I am experiencing this, right? So I don't have none of mine are on contracts. You know, I just I just don't see why I need to do them, right? Because I have I have a loyalty program. I do it that way. So I have a loyalty program, a little incentivization. Like I give 10% year two, 5% year three, 15% total in. And we get good retention. Well, I'm only going off this because I'm going into year three. I'm still new. So in year one to year two, we were around about, I think we're around about 80 something percent, and I was happy with that. But as I got into November, I was people that said they weren't come back. All of a sudden, were calling me to come back, and I think in the end I got close to 90% year two, which was amazing. And then this year, I've noticed a similar trend. So at the end of the season, I ask everyone if they're returning or not. And I know it's far away, but it's more just I don't ask for a deposit then or anything. It's more just so that I have an idea of what's coming back. So when we're doing takedowns, we have an idea what to map and stuff, and it gives you a good indicator of where you're at. And so I had like almost everyone. Like there was like maybe three or four not coming back, and I'm chasing people up constantly. So we had a deposit deadline for returning customers of September 8th, Monday, September 8th, and there was people last minute putting down their deposits, but there's still a bunch of people I'm chasing up that haven't came back yet. I think we're up at like 65% now, but we've still got a lot of people to chase up. Um, that haven't put down. Now there is people saying, "Hey, I'll get it done," and they're not. So that'll climb as the season goes on. But it's a great question because that's something I do find frustrating because it takes a lot of energy when you're constantly, hitting them with follow-ups like email. Like we do an email campaign just to them, just to our returners. We do text blast. We do phone calls. I call them. We do text, and it just takes a lot of time. But that's money like that. That's a given right there. That's low-lying fruit, right? So you have to get your returners first. And I saw a question today, and I forget who asked it, but it was like, when should I be reaching out to my returners? I'm like, you should have been reaching out months ago because they take time to get on board. And now should be the time you're spending to either have your campaigns ready to go, have all your marketing ready to go so you can pull the trigger when it heats up, or you're already starting that. You've already got the wheels in motion. Like we've already cranked the dial on our ad spend on Facebook. We're already got things implemented. We've got an EDDM campaign ready to go. We've got everything ready so that when the time comes, it's boom, it's done. So
Yeah. And
yard
then
signs are ordered. We got 3,000 yard signs ordered this year.
are they going to sit in your garage too?
Fuck, I hope not. We'll see. If Facebook goes like last year, then there's a good chance. Fuck.
You might have to send them to somebody else and let them use the yard sign. Just put a different number on them.
I know, I know.
So what? uh, and yes, this is Danny's third year. This
Yeah,
is year three for Daniel. So
yeah.
uh, Nate, Dan, you're a stud. Keep it up, man. Um,
He's a stud too, man. He's killing it.
You know,
He's learning.
Nate
He's growing.
Nate is another neat guy to watch him how far he's come this past year.
Yeah,
Last year he joined my group, and I think his goal was like 30,000 or something really low, and he's done very well for himself. And you know,
yeah,
he's an awesome young guy. He's Forrest Gump Jr. He hasn't ran as much as Forrest Gump, but he runs a lot. And so it's some of you may not know who Forrest Gump is because you're young, but it's a great movie if you haven't seen it. And it takes about 5 or 6 times to watch it to get all the effects out of it. But he's another awesome dude that's doing very well too. So
yeah.
with the returns and with what is so year two, you learned a lot from year one. What did you learn in year two that's going to help you out in year three?
I learned that roofers are important because in year one, I told you guys, I was struggling with my staff and I was having a hard time finding good help. And year two, I learned from that. So, year two, early in the process, I went after roofers because I know there's a few reasons why. Like I know that during this Christmas time of year, they're slower. They slow down September. So I knew that. I also know they're very competent and comfortable on roofs, and they're very, they've got good judgment, so they're safe. Uh, I know that they've got a very good work ethic because roofing ain't easy, and if they can do roofing, they can do Christmas lights. Uh, I know that a lot of them have good discipline because to be in a roofing squad, you're not showing up late. You're not, going home early. And so I started to go after roofers, and it was the best thing I ever did. I've now got the cool thing about the roofers is as well they all know each other. So like once you've got one and he's good, you've got access to a lot more because they work. Sometimes they're on jobs where there's like 30, 40 of them. So that's what I've done. It's really helped me, and I would highly advise anyone who has had similar issues to me in the past finding help. Go and give your roofers a call in your area.
Nathan asked a good question here, and this is I want to see what you think on this one, but I kind of got an idea. But at what point would you and actually me and you both kind of agree with someone that did this at this point, but at what point would you branch a new area?
It's a great question. It's one I've pondered about before. Um. Oh. Now, what are we talking here? Is it you that's overseeing that new area? Like for example, right after season one, because he just heard me raving about Christmas lights and how well I did in year one. My brother jumped in for year two, and he started, but I didn't have. I gave him some advice and stuff, but my brother's a free thinker. He can think for himself. He's a smart guy. So he started a branch of Holiday Accents down in Orlando, but I didn't really have much to do with that. I would help him and I'd pick up the phone to help him because he's my brother, but he's very independent. He did it himself. If you're overseeing it and you're doing the day to day in that other area, I would say you want to get yourself to like, I don't know what's a good round number, like 800 to a million. In my own opinion, because you want to make sure that you systemize the business you've started first, and it's a well-oiled machine, so that then you can then implement those same um, systems in the new business. And I think that'll work better because the problem is that Jason, you talk about all the time, and you've had to remind me about this countless times, hundreds of times, about what you water grows. And if you're having to, let's say you've done a couple of 100,000 with your business, and you decide, for good intentions, you decide, I want to go and branch out and start another one. The problem is you're then trying to grow two. and you've not got the one to where you want to get it to yet. So why start another one? You know what I mean? That's my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, and I'm kind of, you know, it's one of those things that I would say you want to maximize where you're at first before you start trying to spread yourself thin in other areas, because to get yourself to $500,000 are different systems than, well, let's say this here. To get
Yep.
yourself to $200,000, you've had to change to get different systems to get to 500,000. And what
Yep.
you're going to have, the systems that you're going to have to refine and get better to get to a million. And
Yep.
then once you get to a million, we got to redo it to figure out how do we get to 1.5 or 2 million. And
Yep.
so I think that a lot of times we don't get our systems in place well enough that I can sit there and I can
Yep.
run this one amazing business in this one location. I personally think Daniel could get to 2 or 3 million in his area before he would ever even have to think about moving. Because when he starts thinking about moving, then at that point, now he's not focusing and he's not looking at all the little details and how do I get more customers in this area and how do I get the referrals and how do I target this area because I know I've got 50 houses in one. How do I get 100 houses out of the 1,500 houses? Or how do I get 200 houses out of there? Right. And so it's as we focus and as we focus on it, we can grow a lot bigger. I've been pushing what you water grows because as I've helped Daniel, he wanted to do start a pressure washing business.
Yep.
He wanted to start a water softener business. He wanted to start another business of
Yep.
whatever type. And it's been back to get this business to a million. And then
Yep.
here's the thing what I've learned. Once you get one business to a million, you'll get another business there a lot faster than you did in the first business because you have to figure out the systems. Like he's still figuring out systems.
Yeah.
He's still figuring out his tax situation. That's not even thinking about a business, right? He's still figuring out business stuff that is literally business stuff. Like it's not the installs. The installs are the easy part. It's the business part that what keeps people from being able to get to a million or 2 million because they don't get their business systems in place and they don't get their people in place and they don't put the systems that they need to be able to grow at the end of the year. And so this is the importance of how you've got to figure out what you need to do to be able to get to that next level. So if you made it to
Yep.
$500,000, getting to $500,000 is completely different than getting to a million because
Yeah.
it's just different systems.
And it's a
Good.
lot. It's a lot like the decision making behind it all is a lot harder. Like the decisions I had to make in the first step were quite self-explanatory, but the decisions I'm having to make now, like you touched on it there, like do I have to purchase a warehouse? Do I have to make bigger purchases to write off? Do I have to? What do I do to in order to grow the business side of things to put myself in the best situation possible? Because the problem I'm having right now is I've probably scaled too fast, and I'm having to learn the hard way that like I've not planned well enough for how I've done, right? So like for example, I'm paying way too much into tax, way too much. They're getting way too much money. So it's like, how can I financially be in a better position to write more off? How can I grow my business? How can I purchase assets? All this stuff, which is a whole different conversation from when you're just getting started. And these are things I need to learn because to get to that next step and to get to a million, you have to be smart with all that. You have to get good advice. You have to build properly. And it's like I've always went back to, you have to learn and grow, and you should always be looking to learn. The minute you think you know it all is the minute you're done in my book. So that's where I think for most people, I think I've heard this a lot, and it makes sense now that I'm in it. Trying to get to that next step, trying to get, like you just said there, Jason, try to get to that $1 million mark is hard. Like it's harder than I believe it's harder than like let's say you said earlier you get to a million and then you try to get to 10. I think that's easier than try to get to the million because of the systems you have to put in place, you know?
And I've said that, right? It's easier to go from it's easy to get to 100,000, right?
Yeah.
And you can even do two or 300,000 by yourself. Like you don't
Yeah.
need no helpers. You don't need nobody answering the phone. You literally can make two, three, $400,000 with you and maybe one or two other people, very minimum people.
Yeah.
But when we get from that 500,000 to a million, it's we need two crews, three crews, we need people answering the phone, we need the office staff to make sure that the billing's coming in. These are all things that start adding up for you to get there. So for me to hit my million in 2018, we had four trucks running. It was
Yeah.
myself, my business partner, a person answering the phone, a salesperson, an operational manager. And so, yes, there's a lot, and that's the other issue is when you get to that million, you really want to get to about the million too, because that's when you're going to start making more money again. You're going
Yeah.
to be the most profitable when you're at by yourself and maybe one other person and you're doing 300,000 you're going to be the most profitable at that point, and you're not going to be profitable again like that until you get past that 1.2, 1.5 million, because now because you're having to pay for different people to be able to get there. And so
Yeah.
those are things that we have to look at when we're doing this.
Yeah.
And that's an important part. Jason, are you giving help? Jason, are you giving helping people with websites when they sign up with your online training? And yes, you do get a free website if you join, as long as you have the membership, and that is something that you can get with it. Let's go. Keep missing, but I'm getting quotes out. Good. Nathan asked another question. How do you know if you have a maximized it? I know a big competitor has 450 installs. How many are there out there? I'm
Can,
not being a
Can
small
we
mind,
talk
just
about
thinking.
that? Because I hear that a lot, and it's back to comparisons. Like this is why I try not to compare myself to others. Like I hear stories of people, and I know one you spoke to me about this one where he's doing. You know, people are doing thousands of these. You know, installs. That doesn't always mean that you're profitable. It doesn't mean you're making money. Like there's people that have got hundreds and hundreds of installs, right? But like they've got like 10 crews running because they're inefficient, or you know, maybe they're not interested. Maybe they're just trying to keep all their crews busy. Like there's so many different, you know, a guy doing 50 installs could be more profitable than a guy doing 1,000 installs. Do you know what I mean? Like, so that's one of the difficult things in this industry, and it goes back to the comparison thing. Is just because somebody's doing that, you know, you see people flexing online about what they've done in that, and you see these massive installs. They might not be making money, you know. So I think it's so important you go on your own journey and your own path, and you don't become envious of others. You don't know other situations. And I know that's not what you asked, but I'm passionate about this because I see it so often in our industry. Like, just like build something for yourself because you should celebrate your small wins. Like, I'll give you an example. When we purchased our trailer, this sounds silly. When we purchased our trailer, it was like 8,000 or something. And then we got it wrapped. It was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling because in year one, I remember calling my father-in-law for business advice because he's owned a business for a long time, and he told me, he's like, don't buy a trailer yet. You're not ready financially for that. And I was like, that's fair. And I remember that feeling, think I can't even buy a trailer right now. I'm broke. But the feeling of now being able to do these things, I call them small wins, and they all compile. But the problem is, if you start going over the road and going, oh, well, they have 10 trailers and they're doing hundreds of installs, it takes away from your own joy. And I think you need to just try and build your own legacy and carve your own lane and journey. You know?
Yeah, because it doesn't matter how big another competitor is. I mean, you're in Lexington, Kentucky. I think there's 400,000 people. I think it's actually bigger in Cincinnati, or close to being bigger in Cincinnati. And so there's plenty of business down there. You can, worst case scenario, you can go to Louisville or Cincinnati, come up north if you have to. But honestly, I mean, 450 installs out of 400,000 people, that ain't nothing. And it's back to, you don't need 1,000 installs. If you
Yeah.
have 500 installs and an average ticket of 2 grand, you're at your $1 million.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely something that I think that as you keep growing, it's going to get better for you. Um, how soon in the year to start putting out yard signs? I know some people already putting out yard signs. Some have
Mm.
had success, some have not. I would probably still
Test.
wait.
Yeah, or
Um, I,
test.
yeah, I would maybe put out. I wouldn't get crazy. I might put out 100 this month,
Yeah.
but next month is the month that I would hammer. And then you're really going for the end of the month and the month of November. That is when you really want to put the gas on the yard signs. And Daniel's not from Canada. He doesn't say A too much, so he's Scottish.
You know
Um,
what? I heard myself talk the other day because I recorded. What did I record? I was recording myself, practicing my sales and all that, just to learn and teach my like to grow. And I listen to myself, and I'm like, I sound American now. Like I need to. Yeah, I used to have this tough Scottish accent. Now I'm like, no good.
so let's talk about that. Why did you record yourself?
So I recorded myself because I watched a video, and it kind of stemmed from, it was interesting when on Monday night on our call when you were talking about the words we use and how they can be very powerful and impactful and how they can determine our future. And so I was intrigued by that. So on Tuesday, I took action and I recorded myself going through my spiel and how I talk. And, I kind of found that I was repeating the same words a lot, or I was maybe using the wrong words at the wrong moments. And so I'm just trying to, again, go back to finding improvements every day. And so I recorded myself, and then I was able to analyze the words I was using. So
And what do you find out by doing that?
you find out where you're going wrong, where you may be going right, um, and that's it, really.
Yeah. And it's a good thing to record yourself, because then you can put it in Chat GPT and ask, where did I lose this sale at? Where did the boat take off that they were not interested anymore? And those are definitely some things. And then I see what you're saying. I know that that competitor isn't, but here's the thing that I would say that when you know you're maxed out. Because one thing, you might be maxed out by what that thing that you are using, or that avenue that you're using. So let's just say you're just using yard signs, and you put out 100 yard signs and you
Yeah,
do very well. But when you go to put out 200 yard signs, you make the same amount that when you did 100 yard signs. And so sometimes there's a point that you may have to look at a different avenue to get customers, right? It may be that, hey, you know what? We need to do Facebook ads and yard signs. Hey, we need to do Google ads, Facebook ads, and YouTube ad, or and this, right? And so I think that as you grow, you learn. And here's the other thing too, I would say too, as you grow, you're probably raising your prices. And what are you doing to do better close rates too? Are you following up? How often are you following up?
yeah,
Are you following up 3 or 4 times, or are you following up 10 times? Because there's a difference. And so them are some things that you got to look at as you are trying to figure this out, is what is the max, right? Maybe I spend $100 on Facebook ads, but when I go to $200 a day in Facebook ads, they start sucking, because you're only going to get so much juice out of that squeeze. And so, and not to say that you couldn't do different, but I'm just saying that I've seen it with yard signs a bunch, right? People go put out 100 yard signs, and then they start putting out 200 yard signs, and they make the same amount if they just put out 100 yard signs. And so
yeah,
this is the importance of testing and seeing, like, what can I put the accelerator on, and what do I need to maybe that doesn't back. And this is back to testing and checking your numbers
yeah,
out.
yeah,
One thing I'm big on is what is your numbers? Do you know
yeah,
what most of your leads are coming through? How are they coming? Are they
yeah,
referrals? Are they, and then and as you grow, you try to
Yep.
grow your referrals. Are you asking for referrals? Are you doing the referrals? Are you
Oh
asking
yeah.
for reviews? All of those things.
You know, I was just the way to say that is something that I did in year one that worked really, really, really well. I'm going to give this advice and you can use this if you want. And it's such a simple thing. We have so many homes now, we do, where we have the neighbours, sometimes two, three neighbours. And all I did, and it sounds easy, is at the end of the install, when I knew they were happy, I says, could you please do us a favour? We're a new business. We're trying to grow our business. We're trying to spread the joy of Christmas. Could you please let your neighbours know about our service? Could you please, if possible, go in your Facebook community group, if you have one, and leave us a post? And I've gotten so much work from that alone, and it's free. And all you have to do is ask. Don't be scared to ask, because if you don't ask, you don't get. You know.
You have not because you ask not. And
Yeah.
Nathan put, right, networking opened crazy doors that I never knew existed, right? And that's the
Yep.
thing. It's not always what you know, it's who you know.
You know. Yep.
And it is so important. And that's why I think with AI coming more and more, I think this right here is going to set you apart 10 times anybody else. Like knowing people and in that building relationships, right? And so as you build relationships, it's going to open doors. And I've always talked about like the apartment associations and all of those things, and getting yourself in the right places. And yes, it's going to cost you money to get into those places. And I know people that do galas, and guess what? Those people, it cost you $200 a plate to get in there, but who are you sitting
Yeah.
next to? And
Yep.
this is back to learning how to speak and learning how to talk and learning how to be able to talk to these people, because they put on their pants the same way as you do at the end of the day. So do you pre-bulb? And the answer is I would. I don't want to pay my roofer guys out there don't waiting around bulbing. Sometimes you have to, but that is definitely. David asked a good question. What would you say are the most common objections you would come across in most sales?
Sorry, mate. I was just jobber just popped. I just had a job approved, and I was seeing which one got approved. So right now, what did you ask?
What is the most common objection you come across in sales?
Oh, easy. Let me talk to my wife, or let me
So what do you
let
say
me
when they
talk.
say that?
I say, oh, who's the decision maker here? You know, guilt them a little bit. I say, oh, may I ask why? What are you going to talk to them about? Is there something I maybe missed that I can clear up for you? Like, you've got to ask questions, right, and redirect the conversation.
It is still so hot here. People don't think of lights yet. Well, that's what happens when you live in Arizona.
Yeah, that must be. I've never thought about that because the weather does. We've spoke about this before. The weather does have a part to play because I've noticed when it's like rainy. Like yesterday, we had jobs approved that had been sitting there idle for like up to a month, and then all of a sudden they were getting accepted. And that's weird, and it's because it was raining. So it's weird what the brain does. Sometimes it correlates the two. Christmas and cold weather.
I love this, Nathan, because people don't always think about this, right? People, if I can get it, um, what's going on here, Jason? The galas make me money, right? Who would ever think that you could go to a gala and
The
make money?
chaos.
Right? The galas, right? He's trying to say galas, but who would ever think that he's from Kentucky. He's from Cynthiana, Kentucky, so don't pay attention to that. It's in the middle of nowhere. What was the movie made down there? The fear, or it was a horror movie made down there in Cynthiana. But don't pay attention to that. He's from down there. But right, it is something that is so crazy. And as you start building your network and you start learning this and you go to different networking groups and you join different things, it's amazing of the people you meet and amazing of what you can get from there.
Yep.
All right. So if you didn't know, I have a training class coming up here in Cincinnati in October, October the 17th through the 19th. It is one day of learning how to hang lights, one day of how to close jobs, and how to market, which is the most important day. And day three is Daniel's favorite day, is permanent lighting. Um, but permanent lighting is something that is coming around. And so permanent lights, you are getting more and more people asking about it. But again, it is something that Walking Dead. I knew there was Walking Dead was filmed down in Cynthiana where he grew up in the little town there. They had like a huge mirror on all a mirror of all of the cast and everything. It was pretty cool forever down there. But it is definitely something that if you want to learn how to grow a business, I know I've been asked, is it too late to start? And the answer is no. If you start
Yeah.
in the end of October, I've known people do $100,000 a year the first year in November alone. So it can be done. It
You
is
can't do
definitely.
that, Jason. You can't make 100,000 in your first year. What are you talking about?
Right, right. I've helped thousands of people make money doing this, and so I've learned. We had a great class here. I've got all of the props here, so that way you can get on roofs. You can try the pitch hopper. You can try the goat. You can try all of these different things here. I don't know if I can show this here. I don't think. But again, you can see all of these different. Um, I've got props so you can use the goat, the pitch hopper. They're all right off the ground. So if you're afraid of roofs or you don't know what to do, you've never been on a roof, it will definitely help you out to be able to grow there. Coming from a former firefighter, are they good employees to have? Um, I would say, I don't know. Most of them don't like to work. Most of them are type A personalities and they don't like to work. That's the issue I have with firefighters. Not to say
Really?
that them all. Some of them will work their butts off, but some of them would rather work overtime at the firehouse than come do something else like that. Some will, some won't. It's just a matter of who is who. So, with that, what are some last words of encouragement as we jump off here tonight?
Oh, uh, words of encouragement. Um, have fun. Have fun. Life's too short. I try and remind my customers of that as well. Don't know how many Christmases we've got left. I know I don't want to sound all doom and gloom, but who knows when it'll end, right? So make special memories. Like celebrate your wins. Like go on your own path. Like don't compare yourself to others. Like have fun with it. And if you emit that energy, you'll attract that energy, and you'll be better off for it. Don't live your life scared to make mistakes. Don't live your life scared to take risks because tomorrow is not a given. Anything can happen in this world, and we must enjoy every minute of it. And I think recent times are a great example of that. The world can be a dark, dark place. So surround yourselves with like minded people, surround yourselves with people who bring you up, who make you better, who challenge you, and who are willing to have those difficult conversations and who make you better.
Yeah, it's called "The Faster You Fail, the Faster You Learn." And
Yep.
the book that's a good book on this too is uh, the gap in the game. A lot of times we always look at the gap, but we forget how far we've come in the year or 2 years or 5 years or 10 years, right? And so that's a great book to learn
Yeah.
both the two things he kind of talked about here of you know, don't worry about competitors. Look how much you've learned. And it's a learning process, right? You can't learn from them. You got to learn from yourself. You got to learn how to fix the systems that you need to put together to be successful. So,
Yeah.
all
And
right.
be yourself because I think Cracker Barrel, right, is a prime example of that. They try to get away from what they were. And the minute you start doing that, you lose, I think you lose authenticity and I think you lose respect. I think you should be the forefront of your business and you should be proud of what you're doing and you should when you talk to customers like admit that, like give that off, like tell them how proud you are of what you've built and be proud of your work, send them your work, like brag a little bit to your customers, let them know why you're the best. I think a lot of people lack that confidence, that inner belief. You've got to build that. That doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to convince yourself first and foremost that you are worth $10 a foot.
Right. All
All right,
righty.
man.
Well, you all have an amazing weekend this week. We're 13 days away from a lot of people are going to start installing on October 1. So it is not that far away, less than 2 weeks away or 2 weeks away. People are going to start installing. I know people already installing across the country that, they have hundreds and thousands of installs and they're already installing. And so it is exciting. And I would just say, just get ready and take action and keep moving. And if you need anything, again, you can reach out to me, you can message me, and I can help you in any way I can. And Marius, I agree. Have a blessed week and go be safe this year. Don't do sketchy stuff. Don't, you are on roofs. And so, think about what you're doing before you do it. And with that, see you all later. Hang on, Daniel.